Hello, this is Jeremy Giles, and you're listening to episode 72 of the Who's on Top podcast.
Before we move on to the NFC, I'm going to do it because we've been talking a lot about the AFC, a lot to take in there, but I'm going to do a quick Wacky Sport of the Week and a quick stat track just so that we, break it up a little bit. So Wacky Sport of the Week this week is a little bit not at the end, but that's okay. It is the Keju Big Ball Battle, and I don't understand Keju Big Battle. There, Wikipedia's the official website is down, which doesn't, prove good for the Wacky Sport of the Week. That said, Keju Big Battle is performing in New York City, and it's a parody of pro wrestling where you dress up, and it's kind of like WWE. Actually, it's very WWE-esque, but the monsters are more Japanese based. So they're Godzilla and Gamera, two Japanese. One's a hero, one's a villain. Godzilla being the villain. And you dress up as funny concerts, funny costumes, and just do WWE. Really, do wrestling. And so, the notable characters are Dusto Bunny, which is a bunny, French Toast, a giant French toast, Dr. Cube, and then who's the main villain, and he looks like Marshmallow almost, the producer. American Beetle is, you guessed it, a beetle, and there's some other ones too. It's less of a sport, more an entertainment factor. But it's fun nonetheless. Anything else to say about this? Just looking through the portfolio of it. Yeah, I don't think there's much else to say about the Wacky Sport of the Week, but that's it. And to move on to a quick stat track, this has to do with fantasy receivers. When the top 10 fantasy receivers, can anyone guess what's the percentage of top 10 fantasy receivers that bust in a given year?
50.
I think 50 is a pretty good guess.
Dan?
20%.
What?
20%.
44% bust. Have top 10 fantasy receivers have a bust rate. But the interesting stat about that is out of those 44%, how much of those bust due to injury? Meaning you can't predict it.
I'd say like 20. I mean, sorry, 50%. Again.
It's Ellis. Repeat that again. It's like 50% of the
44% of all top 10 receivers bust, but how many of those 44% bust due to injury? Meaning you can't control it.
I'd say about a fourth.
I'm not sure you entirely can't control it. Receivers are injury.
I think injuries are hard to predict in fantasy. Anyway, the answer is 54%. So receivers, a lot of them bust, but a lot of it is due to injury. So yeah.
So really only 20% of receivers just bust.
So due to talent.
Yeah.
And Jeremy said, yes, you can predict injuries. I'm not the biggest fan of saying you can do that because you never
you can't entirely, but you can predict the risk of injury. Big injuries you can't predict.
So those are receiver stats. Let's move on, Ori. Let's do NFC.
All right, let's move on to the National Football Conference. I think that's it, right?
Yep.
All right, let's talk about the Cowboys. Dak Prescott throwing for 6,000 yards this year, at least 60 touchdowns. Ellis, what do we think of this?
So yeah, I don't have the Cowboys projected nearly as optimistic as Ori had it. Something said that
I do have Dak
Prescott on his fantasy team. That said, other than Michael Gallup, I'm a big fan of everyone in this offense if Dak can stay healthy. So not much to say on the Cowboys. I think their defense is still not good, which even bodes well, even better for the offense. The Giants, not a fan. Galladay had the hamstring, scared of him. I think he's a very good receiver, but he's being drafted too high. Barkley, another running back being drafted too high off the ACL. Daniel Jones, not a fan. But someone I am a fan of, ADP, is Evan Ingram. You can get him off waiver wire, and he's a pass catching tight end. And I hate him as an actual player, but he's going to catch some balls, and to get him for free is pretty sweet deal. Eagles, I said there's two QBs that I think I'm not predicting them to break out, but this is the second one. Jalen Hurts, if you believe in his talent, can have a Josh Allen year. He runs close to Lamar Jackson. If you believe he can throw it, he's got that. But the difference why I'm not predicting him to break out is he doesn't have Diggs around him. He has Devonta Smith and Jalen Reagor, who are a big step down from Diggs.
He also doesn't have nearly the coach as either Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson.
True. Plus, I don't think he has the arm talent as Josh Allen and even Lamar
He's
Jackson.
not Josh Allen. He's
But,
not Josh Allen.
But in terms of running, he's a safe ceiling, and I think if Smith
Big
is
floor.
good, floor. Thank you, Dan. And I think if Smith is good, he can potentially be a fantasy relevant player, who has the chance to break out. I'm just not predicting it. I'm just saying I'm putting it out there. Devonta Smith, we're taking a shot on. His ADP is, I think, 8th
What
round.
else are they going to throw to, Ellis?
I agree.
Jalen
Jalen
Reagor.
had a good camp, but I think Devonta Smith, what is ADP? On the dot, 8th round, 2nd pick if you're in a 10-team PPR league.
Hasn't Monte Smith had a good camp too?
Yeah, I had a couple drops though. So I think it's worth a flyer on Devonta Smith. And I'm not a fan of Miles Sanders. I think they're gonna spread it out more. He didn't have the best season last year. He's being drafted high. Now
I drafted him high, so I might just, if I could just jump in about Miles
Yeah,
Sanders.
go ahead. Before we get on to the Redskins, who I'm a big fan of.
Not red. That's not the name
Washington
anymore.
All right,
Football
football team.
I'm offended.
But the thing I think about Miles Sanders is I do think he's the workhorse. I know there's a 3rd round back there, but I think Miles Sanders is much more talented. I think he's a very talented back. And to be honest, like I think my one concern about them is that they're going to abandon the run because they're going to be a pretty bad team this year. But even then, I know the other one may good catch passes too, but Miles Sanders is a very good pass catching back. And I don't know. I guess I just believe in the talent with him.
Jeremy, you say that, but how many catches did he have last year?
I don't know.
Sorry, I want to make sure he played all the games, but 1, 2,
I don't
3,
think he
4,
did.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 games. So 3/4, which is not great, not bad. Guess how many catches he made?
I'm guessing like 24.
Wow, that's really low. It's a little higher than that. Give him a little more credit.
I was guessing because you were saying this. I'd say like 36 then.
28. Not good. Not
No.
good at all. For a pass catching back, that is not good. And I think the Eagles recognize that when they drafted a pass catching back in Kenneth Gainwell. On 52 targets either, which is not a great catching percentage. Frankly, they had that Eagles season wasn't great in general, but he should be catching more than 28 catches. So I'm afraid for Smith. Now moving on to the Redskins, I really like Gibson.
Still not their name.
Sorry, this football team. Now, what is JD McKissick going to catch 80 balls? I'm afraid he will again. But if he's not, Gibson you guys got to remember, he was a wide receiver in college. He can catch the ball. This is a person that has Christian McCaffrey potential. I'm just afraid the Redskins like McKissick a lot.
Still not their name.
The football team. Not a fan of Logan Thomas. Top 3 targeted tight end last year in fantasy and ended as the tight end number 6. I don't think he's going to be as targeted this year. And I think he's going to end as a top 10 tight end, but like the 10th, in which case he'll be irrelevant because if you're not a top 5 tight end, you're irrelevant. Now, someone I do like as a plug and play is Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's going to give you good games. And I don't think he should be a QB1, but I think he's a great QB2/waiver wire pickup because he's going to give you Ryan Fitzpatrick-esque games. I'm high on Ryan Fitzpatrick as a waiver wire pick if you choose to punt the QB position or as a QB2 with a good matchup. And I'm high on McLaurin, but I think so is everyone. That's not a high thing. So yeah, that's my take on the Redskins.
Not their name still.
Not football team.
But yeah, no, I think with Gibson, I don't think he's gonna be McCaffrey, but I do think he could easily catch, like, even if it goes from 36, I think he could easily go from like 36 balls to like 50 balls. And I think he'll probably get more carries this year too. Because I think he didn't kind of break out till later in the year. And I think now he's their clear number 1. I know McKissick's good, and I'm sure he'll get some catches. I don't know if he'll quite get 80, but I easily still see him getting 60. But I just think he'll have a really, really good year. And I kind of agree with you on McLaurin. I think McLaurin's just good, and it's known he's good. Like, I think he's going to be really good this year, but he's also drafted as being really good.
And
so
you have Gibson higher than Harris, right?
Easily.
Yeah.
All right, that's fine. I'm not going to bet on it because I just don't trust Harris that much, but I technically have
I'll bet
Harris
on it.
one position higher than Gibson, but I'm not confident on it, so I'm not going to bet on it.
I think Gibson's significantly better than Harris.
All right, that's fair. I see it. So any other things about the NFC East, or can we move on? All right.
Move on to the NFC West powerhouse division here. Yeah. So what do we think here? Cardinals, Rams are rebuilding with Stafford. Seahawks are always contenders. What's going on here? Ellis, take it away.
Yeah, Hopkins, great, worth it. Kyler Murray, I don't know if he's worth the ADP, but he's my number one QB projected in my projections. Higher than Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. I have Mahomes as 2 and Allen as 3. But interestingly enough, 2 questions Cardinals arise. Will there be a receiver 2? Meaning, will there be an AJ Green, Christian Kirk? And I don't know. I think AJ Green will have 2 or 3 good games. I don't think there's enough volume for him to be that good. Running backs is interesting because Chase Edmonds has been really good on very low volume. In his 3 years or 2 years as a running back, he has had 1 carry inside the 5. If that goes up, if he gets the touchdowns, he could potentially be good. But James Conner's there now, so a muddled Arizona backfield. But I'm taking Edmonds over Conner if I have the chance because I think Edmonds has a higher potential. He can catch the ball, can run the ball. And if he gets at least 10 carries inside the 5, it's already a 9 carry improvement for his whole career. Let's move on to the LA Rams. Love the receivers. Woods is going to be solid. Cooper Kupp might have slightly more potential, but both are solid picks. I picked Matthew Stafford in my 14-team league. I think he'll be solid. I think he'll be a top 10 QB, but like number 8. So nothing special, but solid. And Darrell Henderson, I think, is going to be a top 24 running back. I think he'll be a solid RB2. I just like this Rams team. Solid fantasy all around. Nothing special, though, I want to talk about, except I think Cooper Kupp can give you a top 10 receiver season. Maybe. I'm not projecting it, though.
I think
QB.
I think Cam. I guess not Cam Akers. Who's the backup for Cam Akers? Because now that he's
Henderson. It's Henderson Jr.
Yeah, I think he's gonna have a great year. Just because I think he's gonna be, and is by far their best back. And the Rams have a history of using workhorse back and have a very good offense. So I think he's just gonna be a good back on a good offense. So I think his situation just gonna make it.
Henderson or Harris? I want to see how crazy you go.
I think I definitely pick Harris over Henderson. I would definitely not be shocked if Henderson ends the year.
All right, because I'd bet on you in a heartbeat that Harris is better than Henderson.
I wouldn't make that bet, but my point is, I would really not be surprised if Henderson ends up with a better year than Harris.
Right.
I'd still pick. I just want to be clear. I'd still pick Harris over Henderson easily, but I think it's a lot closer than people think.
These next 2 teams, I love all their fantasy options. I like Trey Lance. I think he's ADP's worthless because he's not starting week 1 most likely. I think you pick him up and see what he does the back half of the year if you have a good QB1 already. I like Brandon Ayuk and I like George Kittle a lot. I think both are due to wide receiver. I mean, Ayuk was drafted high. The 49ers love him. They love his camp and he's in his breakout year, sophomore year as a receiver. Kittle, unless the injury history, which he does have, I still think is a great receiver. And I like Deebo Samuel. I don't think Deebo Samuel will be a star, but he's explosive. I mean, he like Chase Claypool. He just needs 2 slants or 2 screens to have a productive fantasy outlook. I think I like everyone on this 49ers offense. The backfield is muddy. I have to say, who's their rookie running back today? I forget his name. He went out with injury today, which is a bit scary. And I like Mostert actually too, for the same reason I like Samuel. He only needs 10 carries to be productive. But Mostert, there's trade rumblings. I like Mostert. I like the rookie running back, not that he's injured anymore. But I like this whole team. I'm drafting, if I can, I'm drafting everyone on this. No, not everyone, but I think everyone's good value. And finally, the Seahawks. DK Metcalf, good. Russell Wilson, just because I don't like QBs where he's drafted, but he's going to be good. I'm really up on Tyler Lockett. I'm really down on Chris Carson. I think Rashad Penny's going to take more carries than you think. I think Chris Carson doesn't catch the ball. And I think Chris Carson's too touchdown reliant to be I think he'll be a bad RB2. Like he'll be a startable RB2, but he won't be happy that he's your RB2. I don't think there's a lot of ceiling for Chris Carson. Tyler Lockett's being drafted in the 5th pick of the 5th round. That is absurdly low. I mean, I know he had a bad back half of the year, but so did DK Metcalf. I told you I'm in love with Tyler Lockett. I think his first half of the year was unsustainable, but I think his back half of the year was unsustainable too. He's going to get an average amount of touchdowns, and he's only targeted slightly less than DK Metcalf. See, Russell Wilson can handle 2 receivers in his backfield.
And there's
I don't know why
there's one
Tyler
other.
Lockett, real quick, sorry, Jeremy. I don't know why Tyler Lockett's being punished for a bad last 6 weeks, but DK Metcalf is not. I think Tyler Lockett's the steal of the 5th round.
I actually agree with that because I think Russell Wilson's certainly good enough to support 2 receivers. And the other thing I'd say is that I know I owned Tyler Lockett in the previous years and I loved him because Tyler Lockett is again one of those players. He catches a lot of deep balls, a lot of big passes, a lot of touchdowns. He doesn't necessarily need huge volume, even if he doesn't get quite the volume previous years to produce.
And this is a 3 years in a row, 900 receiver, 900-yard receiver. Even with the back half of the year, he still got 1,000 yards. And I was listening to a podcast and they said, listen, I know this is extrapolating, but if you flipped his first half to the second half, he is a 3rd round, 2nd round fantasy receiver.
Oh,
So
let me
it's
ask you this. Let me ask you this question. Rate these 3 receivers: Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Tyler Lockett.
rate them as in fantasy finish or best value.
Fantasy finish.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I might say Lockett, Woods, Lockett, Cup, I think, or Lockett.
1 second. I needed that.
I
as
would
a-
go Kupp, Lockett, Woods.
I think let's give me a second. 17.
I could easily see Lockett finishing first out of this group.
Ooh, so
I
Woods
think-
is going in the 4th round. Cup's going in the 6th round. Lockett's going in the this is hard. Let me consult the fantasy footballers. I think I would go off the top end. I would go Cup, Lockett, Woods, but Woods is
That's
a
what I
nice safe option. I mean, it's Woods. I mean, Woods isn't going to give you a bad week, but I love Cooper.
Interested to see what the Rams offense is going to look like. Is it going to, I mean, these are the same. They had Brandon Cooks, but this is an offense that 3 years ago was the best in football. And now you're upgrading the quarterback. I know Ori thinks Matthew Stafford has a lot left, but we'll see.
What Matthew Stafford has is a deep ball, and we've never seen that with the Rams.
Jared Goff threw a very pretty deep ball.
No,
And
he
Matthew
didn't. What are you
Matthew
talking
Stafford's
Yes, he did.
Matthew
Yes, he-
Stafford's
West Coast
also
boy.
not that old.
I take it
what do you
back.
mean?
I'm going Lockett, Cup, Woods.
And I really think you guys are underestimating Stafford. I know, or you like hearing me say this. It's just like he's only like 30. Like that's not old for a quarterback by any means.
So I'm not underestimating. I mean, to say Jared Goff did have a good deep ball, and he did throw for almost 5,000 yards a couple years ago.
Yeah.
We've seen, and what were Woods and Cup's value in those years?
Great. I mean, Cup got injured last year, but if we're talking about, I think Cooper Kupp ended as a top 12 receiver, and Robert Woods got like top 20 because it's Robert Woods.
So the question you have to ask yourself is, can Matthew Stafford produce like 2018, 2019 Jared Goff, or 2018 Jared Goff, actually?
I don't think he needs to. Well, he needs to for Cup. I don't think he needs to for Woods.
Okay, Woods, I think, is as safe a wide receiver. That's why I picked him. As safe a wide receiver as you could get. He's dependable. He'll stay healthy. He'll produce for you.
Yeah, I agree. I have Lockett 1 behind Cup and then 3 behind Woods. But it's also what you want. What do you want out of a fantasy receiver? Because I'm taking Woods over Cup if I want consistency. But if I want value, I'm taking Cup because he's drafted 20 picks after Woods. It's what you want. All right, let's move on, Ori.
Move on to my favorite division, the NFC North. Let's talk about the Bears. What's going on with the quarterbacks here, Els?
Andy Dalton is technically the starter. I think he's going to be benched by week 2. I think Justin Fields comes in, but is not that fantasy relevant. Bears receivers. I'm hyped. Big Allen Robinson fan. Big Darnell Mooney fan. I just think if you look at Darnell Mooney's tape, he is ridiculous. I'm a big Darnell Mooney fan. It's just is what it is. You can get him for dirt cheap, as I did in our 14-team league. He's now on my flex. But big Darnell Mooney fan and big David Montgomery fan. Even though I don't love the talent, I think no one else is competing for that job. Volume is king in fantasy football, and Montgomery certainly has it. Plus, he's coming off a blistering back half of 2020 fantasy football season. Lions. DeAndre Swift might not start week 1. Not that big of a fan of DeAndre Swift. I'm just getting bad vibes. I don't know why.
Why is he not starting week 1?
What? Injury. maybe. We don't know yet. TJ Hawkinson. Big fan of TJ Hawkinson. The Lions were missing 296 targets from last year. They have to go to someone. And what tight ends break out their third year in the league, it is TJ Hawkinson's third year. He doubles his numbers from his rookie year in his sophomore year, and I think he does it again. I think Hawkinson is a great mid-round tight end. He is very valuable. He's going in the fifth round. No, he's going in the fifth round. I want to pick him there because I like Tyler Lockett there. I like Deontay Johnson there. But if they're both off my board, I am taking Hawkinson, and I don't have a tight end, of course. You have to remember, if you discount the playoffs, which he did not have good playoffs, he was 30 points behind Darren Waller last year. He had an underratedly good year. This is a player who's really good. And again, Goff has to throw to someone. And so for something tells me he's not going to be Tyrell Williams taking up 300 targets. It's going to be TJ Hawkinson. And Jamal Williams is a perfectly fine backup running back because he's talented and he gets his. Packers, you're drafting the big three. I like Tunney in the same reason I like Mo Alley Cox. If you're punting the position, he's a good touchdown threat. And he's not being drafted crazy ADP wise. I'm staying away from AJ Dillon. I think Aaron Jones is too talented. I think AJ Dillon does steal some touchdowns from Aaron Jones. And is there any wide receiver to value for Green Bay? No, because I think he's going to split evenly with Allen Lazard, MVS, and Randall Cobb. Therefore, none of them will get a good book. Now, moving on to the Vikings, a big fan. Kirk Cousins is going to regress, in my opinion. He threw 6.8% touchdown rate last year, unsustainable, plus COVID concern since he did his own research and is not getting vaccinated. What a loser. Dalvin Cook, second pick in the draft, easy for me. Justin Jefferson, steal of the draft. He only had 5 touchdowns last year, I believe. It might be 4. He is going to have more than that. On the opposite side, Adam Thielen, one of the biggest busts of the draft. Let me give you some numbers on Adam Thielen. 29% target share in week 9. That went down all the way to 18%, correlating to Jefferson's breakout. And since 2000, only 9 players that are 30 have 10 or more touchdowns, which Thielen had last year in the league. Thielen's not getting 10 touchdowns again. I think Jefferson steals the wide receiver 1 job. Thielen is being drafted way too high. He has fine wide receiver 2 numbers, but you're expecting more from him. I think Thielen's a massive bust, and that is my predictions on the Vikings. Would you like to discuss?
I'd actually like to disagree with you on Thielen a bit, first off.
All right.
Just because I don't think he's being drafted that high this year. And I think first off, and I kind of think that the Vikings have a history.
Adam Thielen is being drafted in the 4th round, 7th pick.
That's a bit high. Okay, that's a little bit high for him.
I picked Tyler Lockett. I picked Cooper Kupp. I picked Robert Woods all over him.
I'd agree with that. But I guess the thing I'd say is that Thielen, it's just the Vikings have a history of sustaining 2 really good wide receivers. I don't think he's necessarily going to be as good as he's been in past years. But even with Diggs and Thielen for years, they were both really, really good. But I still think he'll very much be fantasy relevant and be like a good wide receiver too.
Sure,
I don't necessarily think
27-year-old Thielen they could maintain, and I think he's going to be fantasy relevant. I don't think he's going to be a bust in the sense that he's going to be completely irrelevant. I think he's going to be a bust in the sense that you'll pick him in the 4th round and you'll be wishing you picked him in the 7th, 8th round. Let me ask you some questions. What wide receivers would you take over Thielen? 1 second while this loads up. Would you take DJ Moore or Adam Thielen?
DJ Moore.
Okay. Chris Godwin, Adam Thielen.
Chris Godwin.
Well, Chris Godwin's ADP is
God, that's close actually. I might say I might take Thielen. I don't know. That's like
I'll make you bet that Chris Godwin is better than Adam Thielen.
Wasn't Chris Godwin like a projected top 5 receiver going into last year?
Yeah, I'll make you a bet.
He put up good numbers despite injuries, and it was a finger injury, and that's very detrimental.
How about this? Brandon Ayuk or Adam Thielen?
Thielen.
All right, ready? I'll make you bet that. Well, let me look 1 second. Brandon Ayuk is being drafted in the 6th round. I think he's better than Adam Thielen. I will make anyone a bet that Brandon Ayuk is better than Adam Thielen.
I'm not going to take that bet because I don't have that much confidence in Adam Thielen, but I do think he's going to be better. But my point is I would definitely not be shocked at all if Ayuk ends up better.
So looking at ADP, I have Adam Thielen as a mid-6th round running wide receiver with Brandon Ayuk, with Chase Claypool, with Deebo Samuel. A little bit in front of Deebo Samuel, a little behind Kenny Galladay. Adam Thielen's being drafted as mid-4th. So I just see him as he's being drafted 20 picks too high, which is significant.
I'd agree with that.
All right. And if anyone else got no notes, or we can move on to our last division, the NFC South.
No, let's go.
All right, NFC South is up. And this is gonna be music to Dan's ears. Because my QB MVP, not fantasy MVP, QB MVP is in this league, and his name is one Thomas Edward Brady.
Very nice.
Is that his middle name, Edward?
Patrick Edward.
Patrick Edward. I was close. And why do I think he is a fantasy MVP for this year? QB MVP. I want to make that clear. I'm not putting my all-out endorsement on him as the fantasy MVP, but simple. He's Tom Brady. He's a stacked receiving class, and sure, on the Patriots he wasn't good, but this is year 2 Bruce Arians. Let's see some Bruce Arians QBs and fantasy finishes year 2. Carson Palmer year 2 finishes the QB 2 because of injury. Ben Roethlisberger QB 3. Jameis Winston he had not Jameis Winston. Who else did he have? Point is, I'll try to find some stats on it as I continue talking, but year 2 QBs do amazing under Bruce Arians. You saw Brady figure out the offense halfway through because I didn't think he was that good the first 12 games. And then after that, something clicked, and that offense was ridiculous. I think that just continues on the season. I think he gets Godwin more involved, Brown more involved. And and he got Giovanni Bernard, so he has his James White guy that he had in New England. I think the sky's the limit for Brady. I think he ends as the 4th best QB in fantasy, only behind Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, ahead of Lamar Jackson. I have him ahead of Lamar Jackson. He is my fantasy MVP. And I think everyone on the Buccaneers, minus their running backs, and McNugget is a solid pick.
Nugget is solid.
But I don't think they're running back. I think the running back stay away from. NFC other things to talk about. Saints QB battle. Right now, even though I think James Winston most likely is a starter, I am taking Taysom Hill because he runs better. And otherwise, if Jameis Winston's the starter without Michael Thomas, I don't see him as much of a value. Kamara, 3rd pick in the draft, easy. Falcons. Matt Ryan's going to be a back-end QB1. I think that's fair to look at. I'm always a big fan. Mike Davis, I think, is being underdrafted a little bit. He is the running back there. He will be a good RB2, I think. And Calvin Ridley.
Mike Davis was really good with McCaffrey out.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just like a system thing with Carolina just feeding their backs targets, but he did very well for himself.
Louis is like, why is Mike Davis? What's the difference between Mike Davis and Najee Harris?
What's the difference between Mike Davis and Najee Harris?
I would probably want to take
semi-productive offensive line.
One's much more talented than the other.
Talent only means so much.
One has proven NFL experience and one does not.
That's true.
I don't care. I think the ceiling of Mike Davis is a fine running back.
We're not talking about ceiling. We're talking about mean.
Sure, I still have Najee Harris as a much better draft pick than Mike Davis.
I'm with Alice on this. Well, I think there's 2 things. First of all, about being proven. I don't think that's necessarily as much of an argument as you think it is, just because so many rookie running backs have historically, especially first-round rookie running backs, done very, very well. So I don't think the proven argument really holds any water. With that said, I do think the line does make a bit of a difference, but Najee Harris is just so much more talented.
Yeah, and to move on to the Falcons receivers, I like Calvin Ridley. I love Calvin Ridley. I got him wrong last year, I'll admit. But I'll also say this. I like Russell Gage. I don't like Kyle Pitts. Matt Ryan throws the ball. That's what he does. Kyle Pitts, no rookie tight end has ever done that good for fantasy. I think Kyle Pitts is great. I don't think it changes for him. I think Russell Gage will get.
You know what? And you know what I think it is about Kyle Pitts too? I easily think he could be the exception. I don't think it's fair to draft him like we know he's going to be the exception.
Kyle Pitts ADP, I think, is in the top of the 6th round. Let me see if I get that
That's
right.
insane. Like
Kyle
I think
Pitts, no, sorry. His ADP is 4th pick in the 5th round. He's the 4th tight end off the board in the 4th round, 5th pick.
that's like much closer to his. To me, the problem is that's so close to his ceiling. That's not his floor.
I'm taking. There's much better players in the 4th round than Kyle Pitts. It just is what it is.
Ellis,
But the ceiling is
who are
there.
the top 3 tight ends? It's Kittle, Kelsey, and
Waller. Then Hawkinson.
I would rather have Hawkinson any day over Kyle Pitts.
I agree. I would rather have Mark Andrews over.
Kyle Pitts, I mean, The ceiling. The ceiling.
I don't know if it is. I mean, he's never gonna
Hawkinson
be.
can't do things that Kyle Pitts can do.
The
Sure,
ceiling
but
is
it's a
the
rookie
roof.
tight end.
It's a rookie. I'm kind of.
I wouldn't take that chance just because, I mean, this is, well, if he proves it, then you're going to have to, it's going to be a first round pick next year. But
True.
if you want to take a flyer on him, I mean, he has potential to be the number 2 tight end, I think, in this. That's his ceiling. Number 2 tight end.
I disagree. I think his ceiling is number 4. I think he doesn't beat Kittle out, even if he has the best season.
I mean, Kittle could get injured easily.
Well, okay, I'm not counting injury, obviously, but
No, but it's likely at least.
All right.
one
Are you
or
taking? I have a question. Are you taking Pitts? These are 4th round players. All right. Are you taking one sec? Are you taking Pitts or are you taking Julio Jones? Are you taking Pitts? Or are you taking Allen Robinson? Are you taking Pitts? Or are you taking James Robinson? I'm taking Jones Robinson and Jones Robinson and well, 2 Robinsons, I guess, Allen and James over Pitts.
I agree.
I agree with that.
I'm also taking. Ooh, see, this is actually interesting. I know I'm going to take Adam Thielen over Pitts. I just don't like Pitts. I'm taking Robert Woods over Pitts,
Yeah.
Kareem Hunt over Pitts, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin, all over Pitts.
I don't love Kareem Hunt.
I don't know about that second half of people you just said.
I do not like Pitts in that position. I'm just not a fan of rookie tight ends. I get it. Pitts is good. I'm taking I would take Pitts in the. No, know what? Pitts is off my board.
Oh.
This is what it is.
Oh,
Unless he flips to the end of the 5th round, which he's not going to, therefore he's off my board. I think I take if back to the 5th round, he is still there, and I would take him, but it's not going to happen, so he's off my board.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
All right. And finally, Panthers. CMC is CMC. I think Robbie Anderson and I think DJ Moore is going to be great. He's historically low touchdowns, but I think he's going to get if his touchdowns go up to from 5 to 9, he's a great receiver. I love his talent, and I want to say this. I think Chuba Hubbard is a good last pick of the draft because I think if CMC goes down, he'll be good. So I'm a big fan of this Panthers offense. If your name's not Sam Darnold, I think Sam Darnold's not going to have a good year. But I think he does enough to sustain both Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore. And CMC doesn't need a good quarterback to be good. So I think it's pointless. But don't take
might
Sam.
benefit him more if they're bad.
Yeah, don't take Sam Darnold. I like him in real life, and I think he'll have a pretty good year in real life. I don't think he's gonna have a great fantasy year.
We didn't argue that much this time. Last time we had a rousing Josh Allen debate, which I came out on top of, and a Calvin Ridley debate. But I think we're all pretty in line this year.
Except for Najee Harris, man.
Except for Najee Harris.
Yeah, except for
I
Najee Harris.
strongly disagree with that.
If we think about it, though, you guys are only 4 running backs lower than I am. I have him as my 11. You have him as your 15. So it's not that big of a disparity.
I had him on my list, well, because we were doing Dynasty, I guess. I'd probably have him at like 19, honestly.
The honest
Really?
answer.
Wait. So then I would ask you this question again because I want to revisit
And
it. Sorry.
wait, and can I just also say with Najee Harris, the honest answer is he's probably not on my board because we'll never get him at a low enough value.
See, I disagree. He's on my board. But all right. Would you take if he has him at 19? Would you take him? 1 second. Here's the 19th running back being drafted right now. 19th running back being drafted right now is Chris Carson. Chris Carson or Najee Harris?
Oh, not. See, that's close for me.
Wow. All
That's
right.
close for me.
Well,
No,
I bet you any amount of money that J.K. Dobbins does worse than Najee Harris this year.
No. I might bet that.
All right.
I might bet that. Good.
It's a good bet. All right, let's go. I think
about.
Najee Harris, put $10. Najee Harris is a better season than J.K. Dobbins.
Fantasy wise.
We
Yeah,
don't
fair.
we don't
Yeah,
do
let's
bucks.
go,
We do
let's go.
punishments here at Who's on Top.
No, we just don't do Bucks. I like Bucks because we never punished Dan for Josh Allen, but it's fine.
Well, yeah, it was your fault. You should have dumped water.
His humiliation was more than enough for me. Yeah, I'll put $10 that Najee Harris right now. By the way, Najee Harris is being drafted at number 10, and J.K. Dobbins is being drafted at number 16. I believe.
I think he'll get rushing touchdowns.
All right, so that's a
We'll
good bet.
discuss Edwards, but that's okay.
All right, so $10 that Najee Harris versus J.K. Dobbins.
I could totally see the Steelers offense be. I mean, you want to talk about bad second half of the seasons? The Steelers offense last year was terrible in the last.
Fair
half.
enough.
Terrible.
No. But yeah, I want to also emphasize one more time that look out for Tom Brady. He's gonna be freaking amazing.
Yeah, but I actually don't know. First off, I think Buccaneers tight ends you stay away from
Oh yeah, well I wasn't even considering
because
that.
OJ Howard is still a question mark. He was actually really good before he got injured, and Cameron Brate will take some catches away from Gronk. Godwin and Evans, I think, are the only two Buccaneers offensive players you draft.
I'll take a
Antonio
shot on Brown.
No, I don't. You could make the argument that reception wise, I mean, Antonio Brown played 8 games. He had 45 catches, but there's a lot of question marks there. Tyler Johnson will get a bigger role. Scotty Miller, we know how Brady feels about him, and having a pass catching back that they really did not have last year. I mean, Leonard Fournette was the pass catching back, so I think it's hard to depend on Antonio Brown for a number of reasons.
Just a quick PSA on QBs and tight ends. Tight ends, if you're not drafted in the top 6, just punt it. There's good sleeper tight ends. There's good tight ends that'll get you touchdowns. If you're not getting Kyle Pitts, Mark Andrews, TJ Hawkinson are big 3, I would not reach past the last pick of the draft to get a tight end. Same thing with QBs. I think QBs just not worth it. I think the Tom Brady range of QBs are worth it, but if you miss out on them, I mean, just punt the position. You can get. I've never not had a top 10 QB in my league, and I've never picked a QB in the top 3 quarters. I've always been the last 3 people to pick a QB, and I've never had a top 10 QB.
Good. You could pick up a Joe Burrow.
You can pick up a Joe Burrow. I mean, there's always the last year, 40 QBs had a QB1 finish. That is more QBs than there are teams in the NFL. You can honestly stream a QB. I don't recommend it because it's hard and it's annoying, but I got Herbert last year. He was QB8. QBs go too high. I rather stack up on running backs and receivers and do that. So yeah, no, that is the fantasy football draft. We agreed on a lot. That was a good conversation. I like to see it. Yeah. Any last points? Any of you 3?
No, I just think I'm going to be right about Najee Harris.
I just think I'm going to be right about 6,000 yards, Dak Prescott.
All right, calm down. I think he might get 5,000.
Understand that, I mean, it makes it. First off, if Zeke stays healthy, that's going to take. I mean, it's going to be really hard for the Cowboys to have a 6,000-yard passer and a 1,500-yard rusher.
Well, Zeke's not going to rush for 1,500 yards. He's from The Ohio State University. They produce trash.
All right. I mean, we're still even with the 17-game season, with a 16-game season, Dak Prescott would need to set a record even before the 17th game, to get to 6,000 yards. So that's a lot. That's a lot. You get what I'm saying there?
Yeah,
it's not easy. He will throw for a lot of yards because they have as good of receiving core as anybody. Yeah. Oh, wait. Why is Dak Prescott, you're saying he can throw for 6,000 yards? What about Tom Brady?
He's easily the most favorite to throw for 6,000 yards because Cowboys are going to be playing from behind a lot. They have they have a pretty fast tempo offense.
That's true. Did you read that article on ESPN too?
Yeah. Tom Brady, on the other hand, is a winner. Dak Prescott's not.
That's true. All right, let's end on that.
Michigan product.
Dak Prescott ain't getting 6,000 yards, but CeeDee Lamb's gonna have one hell of a season. Another breakout candidate for me. Yeah, I think that's all. You'll see it next week. We're doing a draft. So Jack Perry's coming on. The lovers, Max and Alex, are coming on. So yeah, it's gonna be fun to see how our analysis gets into your life. Maybe it'll be more fiery because when drafts come around, you're a bit more fiery.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a great discussion. Actually, very happy. Unfortunately, I'm pausing my QB predictions just because I don't love anyone. Actually, I'll put Tom Brady. If Tom Brady's a top 5 QB, I'm gonna say for me that's enough to go 4 for 4. So yeah, I'm carrying that in my own stats. But yeah, so I think that's it.
I mean, how do you expect me to argue with you when you come here and say Tom Brady's your fantasy MVP?
Yeah, I knew you'd like this one. Definitely not Josh Allen. But Tom Brady's my fantasy MVP. Let's wrap it up. If you want to start your own podcast and talk to the world, you can do that on Buzzsprout. If you do a premium plan, you get a $25 Amazon gift card. Always love Amazon gift cards. You can use that to buy a nice mic, which we did. Follow our social media at what.podcast, WOT.PODCAST. Twitter, Dan's going to start posting when the new podcast is out. Instagram, we have polls. face swaps. Also, you always know when the new podcast is out. Plus, if you want to listen to it, we have a link in our bio and our Instagram, so you can listen to the podcast. Don't forget to follow our YouTube. We post highlights and occasionally full episodes there. We might post a full episode this week. And yeah, it's at Who's on Top. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you always know what's going on there. WHO_S space ON space TOP. If you just want to listen to us talk in the whole podcast, they're usually in between 40 minutes to an hour. Go to literally anywhere where you listen to your podcast other than Amazon Podcasts. But who listens to Amazon Podcasts anyway? We don't support Jeff Bezos here. And we're at Who's on Top. Again, same as YouTube. Like, follow, subscribe, turn notifications. That's important. So you always know when the new podcast is out. Great discussion I had today. I love to see it. I think any more points for fantasy or just general points?
At the end of the
Anyone?
day, fantasy always comes second fiddle. Puck's going back to back.
Draft well, boys. I know I drafted the best team in our leagues.
I only one got an A+ rating.
All right, yeah. Only one did get an A+ rating. I got an A, second best. Anyway, with that, hope you stay safe and hope you stay healthy. Vaccines out, please get it. Now FDA approved. Suntan lotion, water, always good to have. Hope you enjoyed this week's podcast. We might split this up into two, so NFC and AFC. What was I going to say? Wow, I'm blanking now. Hope you just have a good week in general, and goodbye.